What's going on, everybody? LK here, and today I want to actually do something I did a couple months ago with Bridget and go down a checklist of what makes a character good, but this time from Baiken's perspective. So how good is Baiken actually? You may or may not know, I main this character right now. I switched this character after Evo, so I've been playing her for a couple of months now. A lot of people say she's strong, and I personally rated her strong like tier lists and stuff, but I wanted to go through just down the list of like what is good in Guilty Gear Strive and see how she stacks up. So we're going to be looking at offense, defense, neutral, and knockdown. So first, moves that are plus. So unlike classic Guilty Gear games, a lot of the frame data in this game is kind of homogeneous. One thing that was pretty rare when the game came out was people having advantageous moves. But in Season 2, they basically gave advantageous moves to everybody, more of them. So in Baiken's case, her main one is close slash. Like many other characters, she's pretty average in this regard because she has a +1 close slash where many other characters have that. She does have a couple of things that are unique to her though. So for example, Yozan-sen is plus on hit. Someone told me this before, but despite her being plus enough to combo off this raw, she can't do it because of some special game rule. However, she is plus in this situation. And then also, on a falling Yozan-sen, she's advantageous as well. Here's a simple example. On top of that, even though this kind of falls into knockdown, anytime someone blocks this, she has quite a bit of an advantage. This generally comes up only on knockdowns though. The last thing about moves that are plus is that she has this, which is +2 now. So the startup is really slow. However, if she blocks it, she gets access to tether. The opponent can do special tether combos to you, but also it makes her return on everything way higher. So for example, if I hit this is usually my main combo. If I get this off tether instead, you can see how the damage went way up, and I still had time left on the tether, which means I probably could have pushed this combo a little bit more. The next question is, does the character have some type of fast or instant overhead of some sort? This is a resounding yes, of course. We all know about Yo Johnson. At 9 frames plus 4 frames of jump startup, this move is 13 frames. It's incredibly fast. On top of that, she has this as well. The IED back Yozan-sen hits around like frame 19 to frame 21-ish. So she has a couple of ways to implement fast overheads that other characters don't have because of her special moves. The next question is, do they have like a safe 5D? So something that makes your 5D plus. This is pretty important because for most characters, they don't have something like Yozan-sen. Usually their fast overhead is tap dust. Tap dust is very punishable on block. So that's me using a 10 frame move to punish. This is me using a 13 frame move to punish. Fast dust is -15, so there's a lot of ways to punish it. So having a safe one is a huge advantage in this game. Funny that I'm using Happy Chaos here because he can do this. So he can make his 5D safe. I mean, safe is an understatement to be honest. Very advantageous using his gunshots. Does the character have a 50-50 is the next question. And Baiken has so many ways to 50-50. A couple of examples would be, one would be off her 5k. So off of her 5k is jump cancelable. So you can jump cancel into Yozan-sen or go into sweep. However, the sweep is faster than Yozan-sen. Yozan-sen, as I said, was 13 frames. Sweep is 10. But luckily, since her 5k has a lot of active frames, it has 5 active frames, you can slightly delay your sweep in order to set up a 50-50. You'll know you kind of have it right if when you're practicing against the CPU, you have them set to guard first only, and they actually get hit by your sweep. Something like this. Her close slash is also jump cancelable. It's technically safer in that it's airtight, and you get the same type of options. You can do close slash sweep and close slash Yozan-sen. Close slash has more block stun than 5k, so you can get an airtight Yozan-sen and an airtight sweep at various timings. The next question is, how fast does the character get meter? Baiken actually gains meter incredibly quickly. This was one of the first things I was really surprised about when I started to play her. So this comes from a couple of things. So one comes from this special move, Kabari. So you actually get a small amount of meter when you whiff special moves. The thing is though, this is a really important part of her neutral game plan. And this really does add up over time, especially because she's pretty active in neutral in a lot of positions. This also comes into play if you use Tatami Gaishin in neutral as well. So this character actually has the ability to retreat and build meter at the same time. Then you have to take her combos into consideration. So for her standard combo, her main combo is this, which builds quite a bit of meter, of course. It builds like around 30 meter, but you have to also consider too that she's really good at safe jumping and setting up offense from her knockdowns. Which puts her a little bit closer. So this plus building meter in neutral means she has the ability to build meter incredibly quickly. Then, to add even more to her ability to build meter, if she throws you successfully and gets a mix-up off it, she basically gets 50 meter right away. From here, the Yozan-sen would give me 50 meter if I decide to go for it. So her ability to build meter is very, very good. The next question, funny enough, is what does the character get off their throw situation? So Baiken actually has two types of throws. She has this standard throw where she automatically tethers you, and she has a version where you don't have to tether them and you throw them away. Now, there's a little bit of a theme in the game where some characters get their win conditions off throw. I don't know how intentional this is, I guess. This kind of falls in line with a thought process I've had recently where if the opponent could have done something about it and then you're correct, the game gives you really big reward. I feel it's really heavily in Dragon Ball FighterZ as well. So her standard throw leads to all types of mix-ups. And as I mentioned before, if she mixes you up in this situation, she's going to get 50 meter basically right away. If she doesn't get meter from the combo itself plus the following knockdown gives her meter, which is incredibly strong. And she has the flexibility to not tether because there's some characters that are actually pretty hard to deal with if you tether them. Some examples would be like Kai or Leo Weifang. I'd go as far as saying she has one of the best throws in the game. So next is how safe are they against YRC? Baiken actually is not that great against YRC. So like many characters, her jab is safe to YRC as well as her 2P, but her kicks are not safe to YRC, nor is her close slash. Once we get to slashes, of course, many characters are not safe to YRC in this situation. That being said though, even though she herself is not directly good against YRC, she does have a lot of creative applications for working around YRC, especially when she has meter. So of course, one that you may have seen is her BRC mix-up. So your BRC slowdown will activate before the enemy's YRC, and you could punish heavily if you read them. If they wait, of course, you run the risk of them waiting to YRC, where here it's kind of hard to deal with their YRC. But also you could just send it on a mix-up. This is actually a tactic I use quite often. If I was to use like this, for example, and let's say we're just doing like a tatami, right? And YRC can come here. So there are a couple of guessing games you can play because you have advantage in this situation of are you going to do a safe jump or a tatami gaishin, or are you going to do a mix-up right away independent of it? So it could be a little bit difficult for the opponent to pick something here. They kind of just have to do something. They don't have time to see what you're going to do. So in this way, I do think she's kind of strong. However, I wouldn't put her in like the top class of being really good against YRC. Next is how safe are they against bursts? So on knockdowns, Baiken's pretty safe against bursts. For example, here. Which is a pretty big advantage because it lets me do my mix-up safely, which is nice. But as far as combos, it's pretty hard to bait bursts. There's a couple of things that are safe to burst, but I wouldn't say she's as burst safe as characters like Happy Chaos or Nagoro Yuki, Ramothal, like the usual suspects. I would say she's kind of average as far as that. Next question. Does the character have to hit you to win? Or can they win from making you block? So Happy Chaos here is a pretty good example. Happy Chaos doesn't necessarily have to hit you to win. Happy Chaos can set up offense from blocking and then continue his game plan from there. So something like getting this, and then when at some point he feels like pulling up and can go into whatever type of offense he wants. I would say Baiken doesn't necessarily have to hit you to win. The reason is that her pressure is pretty good and pretty threatening. Now, if you're like risk averse, it could be hard to set up pressure with her because she has a lot of points where both characters can gamble against each other. But if you're good or comfortable with it or study it and just build strategies, which is what I've been doing because I'm kind of risk averse, I'm not gonna lie, I am a melee player at heart, then you can get some really good returns. So the main things being 6k, Tatami Gaishi, H Kabari, and S Kabari. So let's go through each one. 6k. So why 6k? The main reason is that 6k advances. She has a few moves that advance. 2H is another one. So this game has a mechanic called Faultless Defense designed to push you out. So I'm doing 3 jabs. I'm getting FD'd out. But on normal block, I'm able to do like 4. So there's a difference in pushback. So then, one nice thing about 6k is that it lets you advance. So this makes it so people can't push you away easily. Same with 2H. It makes it so that people can't push you away very easily. Then you have Tatami Gaishi. So this move is -3 if both hits connect. If the second hit connects only, she's a little bit advantageous. The nice thing about this move is that it pushes people out specifically. So people generally, if they don't want you to do Tatami Gaishi, they'll try to Faultless Defense you because if they make the first hit whiff, they can counterattack. Something like this. Where on normal guard, it would look something like this instead. This is because the first hit of Tatami Gaishi is connecting. But Tatami Gaishi is designed to work in tandem with Kabari. So this move pulls you in instead of pushing you out. As a little side note, if they instant block, they don't move, by the way. So even on FD, you will pull them in. So this is good against characters who have kind of stubby, fast buttons. Happy Chaos actually falls into this group. Even though Happy Chaos has a really good 2k for mashing, his buttons are kind of stubby overall. So most of the time when you do offense to him, you can pull him in. So she has a move that pushes people away into Tatami Gaishi in case their fast punches and kicks are really big, like Kyle or Nagoriyuki, where she has something that pulls you in case your fast buttons are kind of stubby, like Happy Chaos or Chip. With these moves, you could build up their risk gauge a lot. If you get a hit, you'll do a lot of damage. Kabari itself is attack level 4, so it builds a huge chunk of risk gauge when you do it, where Tatami does not build anywhere near as much. Then, on top of that, she does have a high-low that she can do. So, blocking Baiken is pretty scary overall. I would say her offense is quite good. Next would be, what is the character's average damage like? So, on average, the type of hits you get a lot with Baiken, you would get like this, sometimes this. Getting hit by this is pretty rare. You get hit by this, and this also. So Baiken is a character where the closer she is to the corner, the more damage she does, because generally she'll be able to extend in a way that she cannot mid-screen. If we use a simple example like a jump in, so a standard jump in combo would be something like this in the mid-screen, but if she's just a pinch closer, she gets a corner extension that can break the wall if you want. So her average damage is okay overall. I would definitely say good. It's just situational, very situational. Sometimes you're not going to be able to do really long combos because of just a starter you got plus your location on the screen. Last but not least would be the wall break situation. The wall is a pretty unique mechanic to this game. When you break the wall, you get a meter bonus and a damage bonus, and I believe a defense bonus. I always forget that last one. When you break the wall with a super, you get a unique hard knockdown that places the opponent a little bit closer to the corner than normal. So let's check out Baiken. Unfortunately, her wall break situation is a little bit tricky because she can't threaten a safe jump against the fast reversals, which are 9 frames in Season 2. You do have other ways of attacking from the wall break situation, but because you can't enforce a safe jump, it makes it kind of hard for the opponent to respect you. That being said though, her just breaking the wall is a pretty big deal because when she has 50 meter, both in neutral and on offense and in defense, she's strong. However, from the being able to continue your offense perspective, I would say she's not that great. Next, let's talk about defense. So first, how fast is their fastest button? Of course, the top tiers here would be characters like Soul and Chip, who have 3-frame buttons. Baiken's 5P got buffed in Season 2 to 4 frames, making it a really good option to mash if you want to try to get out of pressure. The only weakness is that it's very stubby and it doesn't hit high in the air, but besides this, the speed is unparalleled and you get a good combo off it if you hit it. From close enough, to be fair, from close enough. The next question is, do they have a meterless reversal? Yes, they do. They have parry. So there are a lot of characters that are mid dispensers in this game. They rely on strike throw quite a bit, and even with a fast button, you will get absolutely just wrecked if you get counter hit. But thankfully, she has a meterless reversal in parry to challenge. Hers is unique in that hers is the only one in the game that you can PRC on a whiff. So for example, if you can make a reversal whiff, it does not matter how much you mash on RC, you need to connect with it. Supers you can PRC, but supers cost 50 meter. So unless you use the PRC glitch that some characters are really good at using, like Testament, you'll have to use 100 meter to escape this way. Baiken in particular is able to do this, which is pretty rare in the game. She's the only character who can do this. Next, is their super vertical or horizontal? Horizontal supers are a pretty big advantage because people have to really like pay attention to them. They can't just outspace your super. So Baiken does have a horizontal super. The range on the super is pretty nice. How good is the character's backdash? So Baiken has a pretty standard backdash. So in this game, and Soul is one of these characters, the average backdash has 5 frames of invincibility and 20 frames total duration, meaning for the first 5 frames you won't be able to hit them, and for the next 15 you will be able to hit them. There's other factors like distance that are included with how good a character's backdash is as well. Some of the faster characters like Mei and Amelia, they have 4-frame invincible backdashes, but theirs are literally instant at 16 frames total duration. So 4 frames of invincibility, then vulnerable for 12 frames. And then the big bodies, Nagoriyuki, Gold Lewis, and Potemkin, they have 23 frame total backdashes, but they have the most invincibility at 6 frames. The third hit of Nagoriyuki's Far Slash is 6 frames active. So he's able to backdash out of it. Where a character with a standard backdash like Zato will always get hit. Baiken is kind of unique in that she has a 5-frame invincible backdash, but her backdash is 1 frame slower, so it's 21 frames. This doesn't matter too much. Like if you're just like starting the game or intermediate to the game, basically she just has a standard backdash. There are some really specific situations where there are times where both characters will whiff because you backdash, and then Baiken's going to be 1 frame less advantageous compared to other characters just because her backdash is 1 frame longer. For the sake of just simplicity, she just has a standard backdash. So next is how fast is their 6P? So we're looking at 2 things here. How fast the move is itself and how fast does the invincibility activate. One easy string to look at this with would be Leo's 2K, 6K. Baiken, like Amelia, has a top tier 6P. So it's not only fast, but the invincibility activates quickly. As a quick review, generally in the game, your upper body invincibility will start at the waist and then will go to the knees later. So in this case, Baiken's 6P is 9 frames startup, and it's 1 to 3 upper body and then 4 to 13 above the knees. So an example of a character who basically everyone thinks this character has an esports 6P, just an amazing 6P, is Testament. But from this perspective on defense, Testament cannot use their 6P. So the issue is Testament 6P is not fast. It's 11 frames. So even though it has the upper body thing, it's just not fast enough. So next is how fast is their jump. So to get users, Baiken has a standard jump at 4 frames. There are only a couple of characters in the game that have slower than this. Nobody has faster than this. The big bodies, Gold Lewis, Nagoriyuki, and Potemkin all have 5-frame jumps. There are some examples of setups that are either easier or only work on them because their jump is slow, but it's a pretty niche thing. And then we revisit, do they build meter quickly? Which the answer is yes, like we covered in offense. So the reason why this is important is because meter really opens up defense. So in Baiken's case, it gives her access to parry PRC, as well as her 9-frame reversal super. But there are also some implications around parry. So for most characters, usually the main things you get would be meterless reversal, roam cancel, super, some people have been using backdash BRC and then also YRC. But because of Baiken's parry, she's also able to add BRC towards as an option because both the parry and the RC startup are 6 frames. So what I mean is parry is 1 frame, but it's active for 6 frames, which is how long the BRC startup is. So you are able to use BRC defensively in a much more aggressive way than other characters. You're also able to tell what they're looking for. So if they hit you for doing this, then parry would have worked. If they hit your parry PRC, they were really looking for you to parry. So you're able to do things like mash and backdash. Think about how the parry interacts with the other mechanics in the game so that you're able to use your defense the best you can. Next, let's talk about neutral. So the first question from neutral is, can the character attack from safe ranges? I would say a resounding yes, with a combination of moves. One is her buffed far slash at 9 frames, disjoint, and also just very difficult to whiff punish because it has like no recovery. 2, of course, is H Kabari. You're attacking with a traveling disjoint that hits from quite a long range. Most characters can't get around this move very easily without committing in a really specific way, usually jumping or air dashing over it. But then she has her jump D. So her jump D, while you're not hitting anything normally, it's good against characters who are either trying to escape the corner or trying to get over H Kabari somehow. The subtle thing to note about it too is that Baiken's jump is actually quite high, but jump D will halt your air momentum and send you backwards. So you're jumping at around Gold Lewis height here because you're going at like half the height you normally would. Then, because of the threat of her space control, you have some more aggressive tools like 2H or IDN. So overall, if Baiken has the ability to attack defensively against a character, I would say she's able to play pretty safe. I don't think she is like the safest out of all the characters by far, but she is definitely up there. The extreme of this would be Happy Chaos. So he's able to attack from basically anywhere on screen with the gun, depending on what's going on, even from the air. And the main restriction is just how much resource he has, plus what buffs does he have. Are you cursed? Does he have focus? Is he using steady aim? Is he using 5H? Characters like Zato, Ram, and Nagoriyuki also are all able to attack from safe ranges very easily. How fast is their air dash? So we're talking about how quickly you can act out of your air dash. Baiken is pretty standard here in that she can act out of her air dash going forward in 18 frames. So the extreme of this are characters like Milia and Chip. Both of these characters can act out of their air dash faster. Milia, as you may know, has a smaller air dash than basically everybody, but she has 2, and the 2 combined go the same distance as 1 full air dash, but in exchange, she's able to act much faster than other characters. Baiken, however, is average in this regard. Can they stall in the air? This is a resounding yes. So stalling in the air is important because characters don't really have this. So characters have really strong 6Ps. A lot of characters are good at anti-airing, and most characters don't have ways of altering their air momentum. So you have a couple of things you can do with Baiken. JD makes you retreat as well, which is kind of nice. 2, you can use Yozan-sen. Yozan-sen actually halts you for a little bit, and it could mess with someone's timing if they're trying to mash in order to hit you with their anti-air. 3 is she has the gun, Kenju. So this is an option, but it's not as good as Giovanna's. So Giovanna has this dive kick super, and the nice thing about this super is that even if it whiffs, she's safe because she lands on the ground, where Baiken is floating here. This helps with combos in a big way, but if someone is directly under you, you're kind of boned if you use all your air options, but it is something that's available, and it is something that's helped me in matches situationally. And then the last and hardest thing for sure is her ability to use meter in order to alter her air momentum. So here you're combining the hitbox of Yozan-sen along with using RC in order to alter your air momentum. So in this case, where I'll get hit here, if I combine these 2 things, I will not get hit. So all in all, she does have a bunch of ways to alter her air momentum and bait people for anti-airing, which is not that common in this game. Can the character 50-50 you from neutral? This is a ... question mark. I would basically say no. There are cases where, like, if you block a random 5k in neutral, she can 50-50 you from that. for sure. If she meets you air versus air with a button, she can get offense, and that block string can lead to 50-50. Usually when I think of can the character 50-50 from neutral, I think of it kind of immediately. There are times where like this. So because I went in a close slash, that means that I would have been able to do like a whole string, or like I'm able to get a ground block string where I'm able to get offense. So I kind of just think kinda. You know, it just depends on what she uses to get in. I don't think she gets it from like absolutely everything, but that's not that common in the game. Can the character get in on you immediately after gold burst? Basically, no. Everything is too slow. Your air dash is too slow. You can't really make it to them. Being able to attack immediately from a gold burst is a massive advantage in this game. So, for example, the sword comes after gold burst. I block it. I can't jump away. Either I get hit or whatever, and he just runs at me. There are some cases of counterplay being available against these, but just the fact that you're able to threaten this if someone's not prepared is really, really good. Baiken does not have access to this unless she's putting you in the corner, basically. Next, does the character have a burst RC option? So what I call this lovingly is fuck it RC. So something that you could just do either like meter into special move or special move meter. So for example, a lot of people like to call this a neutral skip. This is actually not bad. Of course, you can't do it from full screen. You don't really go anywhere. Also, at the same time, it's the follow-up to a move. So you do have plenty of time to see this move coming. And of course, on hit, you do get a pretty good situation. If she really has one, it's probably this. But I wouldn't say she has a particularly strong one all the time. Even this, which is designed to be anti-airs, you do have to do it against somebody who's looking for you to jump in, which can take some positioning. So you can't just throw it out, from my experience. So one example of a really strong one is Leo. Leo has a couple actually. You can do this. This is pretty fast and it hits from pretty far. Like here, you're already pretty close. Another one would actually be this as well. So the speed of how quickly he's able to cancel from his dash plus the speed of the attack make them pretty good fucking RC options. Next, how fast is their 6P? So Baiken is actually known for having a bad 6P, but it's actually not that bad. Probably the main thing is that it's not that huge, plus she does this weird little movement thing. It is 9 frames and the invincibility activates quickly, so it's okay. It does the job. Next is, does the character have a slow jump H, which makes it hard to anti-air? So the reason why slow jump H's are hard to anti-air is that generally they just hit deeper. Baiken has a slow one and this thing hits really, really deep. It's actually active until she reaches the ground. Or another way to look at it is that either it's active until she reaches the ground or comes in contact with something. So notice how it hits earlier here. So depending on how you use this move, it could be difficult for enemies to anti-air you. The one downside is that it doesn't hit very far horizontally. The next question would be, does the character have neutral tools that doesn't let opponents use their standard tools? So I would say yes, there's a lot of characters in the game that have problems fighting this move and they have to move in ways they wouldn't normally or use attacks they wouldn't normally use so much. Leo actually kind of struggles getting past this move. So while he does have like really good attacks here and he's really, really fast, he does kind of have to get to around here, which while he can do, he still has to get past this in a good way. And so Baiken kind of controls the pace. And then the last question for neutral, can the character convert all their hits into either a good knockdown or a wall break without using 50 meter? For the most part, yes. The main hits you get with Baiken a lot are like IADs, Tatami, Raw Kabari, which is confirmable, 2H, which is confirmable both on normal hit and counter hit. So her main thing is that she's not good at converting far hits when the opponent is not crouching. So this is one of her best buttons, but you don't really get a combo into anything meaningful when the opponent is standing. So here, you usually have to use meter. But besides that, I would say she's pretty good at converting her hits overall. The more advanced you get with your hit confirms and understanding where the opponent is on the screen, what the opponent's character weight is, the better you'll get at comboing, breaking the wall when you want, or creating the situations that you want. This position here, the round start situation, is basically the sweet spot. From here and closer, you're able to get some really big combos depending on the hits that you get. So I don't have to break the wall here, I just have the choice to. And this type of flexibility is pretty common against strong characters and pretty important in the game in general. Then last, we talk about knockdowns. So question number 1, can the character win off a throw? So what do I mean? Sounds pretty simple, right? If your throw is a strong enough situation, you could build kind of a path to victory for the round. For Baiken, I think that's a resounding yes. If you get thrown by Baiken, it's really, really bad. So if I do a sequence like this, for example, this is starting from 0 meter. Just like that, Ram is gone. It goes to show you how strong her throw can be, which leads us into the next question: how much meter can the character build off a successful throw mix, if any? As you saw, she's able to build 50 meter without much issue. So it's not that the combo itself gives it to you, it's that your safe jump plus next button will give it to you. And from here, you're in a really, really good situation. Can the character protect themselves from reversals and mix at the same time? This is yes, but like lowercase y. It depends on what you're doing, what character you're playing against. So standard Baiken players, they use 2 main setups. They'll either do IAD tatami into a button, or they'll do some sort of frame kill. Everyone does a different one into a jump in. So these are safe against reversals. Usually your IAD in, when you IAD in with a button, if you want it to be a mix-up, then you are not safe to reversals for the most part, but your tatami is basically always safe. Off throw, you also have to protect yourself in the same method. One common one to always look for is gold burst, and thankfully she's pretty good against those. Is the good knockdown loopable? So essentially, yes. So usually any hit she gets from here, she's able to continue her offense. And if she hits you, she will go into similar routing. So I'd give her a yes here. In the case of throw, this does end in the same type of knockdown. Just in this case, you're probably breaking the wall, or I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but you're likely breaking the wall and going into like a game-ending scenario here. As a review of everything, so she has the standard moves that are plus, but she has a couple of things that are unique to her, like Yozansen and Escabari. She does have an instant overhead in Yozansen. Not a safe 5D, but it doesn't really matter because she has Yozansen. And because of Yozansen, she has plenty of ways to 50-50. She's good at building meter. She has a great, amazing throw situation. At a glance, she's not great against YRC. However, she has things that are unique to her that helps her fight against it a little bit. But unfortunately, she's not necessarily against burst. She doesn't necessarily need to hit you to win, which is a big advantage in this game. But her damage varies depending on where she is on the screen. However, most people would definitely say that her damage is pretty high overall. Her wall break situation is not that great compared to top characters though. On defense, she has fast buttons, a meterless reversal. She has the only meterless reversal in the game that you can PRC, which is parry. She has a horizontal super, which is good to have. Her backdash is basically average, besides some really niche situations. Her 6P is very good and very fast. Jump is average, and again, she builds meter quickly, so she's able to use options more and make them safer. In neutral, she's able to attack from safe ranges with moves like Kabari, Tatami Gaishi, and her various buttons. Her air dash is pretty standard, but that's fine. She does have a slow JH, maybe not as good as characters as like Kai and Testament, but still it's there. She's good at stalling in the air, and she can sort of basically technically 50-50 you from neutral if she just catches you blocking randomly. She can't really get in on you quickly after gold burst, but she kind of has just like fuck it RC options that she could just do when she wants. Her 6P is fast, which is fine, but her 6P is not like huge. And she has a bunch of tools that don't let characters play the way they want to play, like Kabari, Far Slash, and Tatami once again. The character is also pretty good at converting hits into knockdown / win condition, which is pretty important. This character can definitely win from a throw. Her throw is definitely one of the best in the game in my opinion, and she builds a ton of resource off successful hits off throw. She can protect herself from reversals and mix up at the same time. It's not easy though, it does take some planning, and her good knockdown is loopable. I definitely think she's a really, really good character. She has a lot of things that are important for the game. I remember on the Bridget video, people were like, you probably should have mentioned how like Bridget doesn't have good HP and guts, which I do think is a downside overall, but it's kind of minor. There's so many examples of like top tier characters who have bad HP, so I never thought of bad HP itself as a major detriment. Baiken's HP, she has great guts, but her actual defense modifier is like not that great. But overall in the game, I think she's pretty strong in each phase of the game, which is pretty important to the game. Let me know what you guys think though. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.